Hey everyone, my name is Corey and I'm with Good Evening Tech. Today I am going to help you learn and understand the conditional if logic in JavaScript. Alright, so what is conditional logic? So basically, looking down this slide, if the criteria is met, it'll run some code. And also the opposite, which we'll get a little bit into what that means. If is a keyword in JavaScript, so the lowercase if cannot be used anywhere else except in like a string, but if you try to, assign a variable or anything that says if, it'll throw an error. Now, if we look at the format, it's pretty easy. You just have the if word. Inside the parentheses is what you want it to check for. And if it runs true, it will run the code inside the curly braces. So like I said, looking at the format, if word, the smooth parentheses, and then the curly brackets, what you want it to run. Other keywords that are used with the if statement is else if and else. So let's look at some examples. All right, so the first example we're going to look at is just the format of it. So as you can see here, it's the if word. Inside these braces is true. This is the condition that'll be checked, but more or less for true, it'll always return. And down in here, you will see the console.log. It will always run. So easy way to check this. I'm going to pull this terminal up here. Type in the node command if you have it installed. Just hit that and it will always run. So like I said, this is the format, pretty easy. Now, second example we're going to look at is the if else. So along with understanding how to use an if statement, if you just want to check if something's true, on the same note, if you want to check if something is false towards it, you can run an else statement. So what we have here is the time of day. We just set it to a new date object, which gives us the current time. Say let time equals time of day gets hours, so this will return the hours of the day. Now what we have down here is an if. Time is less than 12, so if it's in the morning, it'll say good morning, else it'll say good evening. Go down here, give this a try. As you can see, since my time here is 9:10, I get the else statement. It'll look at this, it'll see if this is true or not, and then it'll move immediately down to the next one. Moving on, so if you want to try additional if statements, if you want to narrow down or filter out the results, this is what it looks like. So still the time of day object. We're going to get the hours, and first thing we're going to do is check if the time is less than 12 to see if it's in the morning. If not, else if time is less than 6, the JavaScript object returns everything in military time. So if that's a little confusing to you, if it's past 12 p.m., just subtract 12 from it or add 12 depending on which way you want to go. But if it's less than 18, good afternoon. And then everything after that is good evening. Now, thing to understand with if statements is they go in like a waterfall. So this will run before this, before this. So if we move this statement above this, and let's say the time was 6 or 7 in the morning, it would never make it to this statement. So when you're writing your statements, make sure that if the next statement down covers the same as this, because 6 is less than 18 and less than 12. If this was above this, this would always run. All right, the next one. So let's say, you want to check a couple things in a program for that if statement to be true. And instead of just stacking if statements, you can use this right here. So what these are is they're an ampersand. It's a fancy sign for and. Stacking two of them together without a space gives us the logical explanation for and. So how this will work for us is it'll check if the time is greater than 6 and less than 6 p.m. It'll say, hey, welcome in. Let's pretend, this is like for a shop. Else, we are closed. So you'd put the business hours in here from opening to close, and it would let the people know, hey, you can come in, else it's closed. Let's just see that in action. Like it's 9:12 here. Example 4. Boom, we're closed. All right, the next example is going to show something called an OR statement. So and is these two ampersands together, and then OR is these two pipes. So if either of those things equal or, what's a good way to say it? If either of those are true, it'll run the code. So if one's false and the other one's true, then it's okay. Now, up here, the only thing we've changed is we're getting the day now too. 0 is a day is Sunday, and the 6th day is Saturday. Let's just give it a try here real quick. We're closed. I'm recording this on Sunday, so yeah, it would be closed because Sunday is the 0th day. Now, if you look down then the else block, if it was Monday and it was Monday past 6, it would say welcome in. Or, if it was this time, my time right now on Sunday, it would say we are closed. So you can put statements inside of each other just like any other normal code. They can run through, and remember, it's just like a waterfall. It'll run this. If this is true, it'll run this. It'll skip over all of that. But if it tries to run this and it's not true, it'll go to this else statement, then run this if, and then run this else if this if doesn't work. Now we're going to look at some little shortcuts that JavaScript has built into it. So the first one is a ternary operator. It follows this format. So it'll check something, then you run a question mark, and then whatever you put here is if it's true, this will happen. Then you put a colon, and if it's false, you'll put this here. So pulling the time again, pulling the hours. You look down here, console.log. So the thing we're checking is if the time is less than 12, little question mark for the operator. If it's true, it'll say good morning. If it's false, because it's past this colon, it'll say good afternoon. And just another little shortcut it has down here. Add my semicolon. This is another shortcut for an if statement. So if it can all fit on one line, you don't have to put the curly brackets. So if the time's less than 6, we're putting it's early. And if the time's greater than 10, it's late. So you can run this one. It says good afternoon and it's late. So time less than 12, no it wasn't, so it went to that second part. And was the time greater than 10? Yep, it's 21:15. Then it'll run this. So as you can see here, these are great for, running little snippets of code, but, I'd recommend to you to try to stay away from these because it can look nice in the moment, but if it obscures how you read the code, just think about it. If you looked at this a month later, would it make sense to you at exactly what it's doing? Or with this one up here, if you gave it to somebody else, would it make sense to them? And for these examples, they're pretty basic. It's just the hours and the time, but think about, as you get more complicated with things, do you think that having it there is going to create confusion for the sake of writing a couple lines, or should you just write the entire thing out so that people can understand what you mean? But all right, guys, thank you for listening, and I hope this tutorial helped you understand, just the basics of if statements in JavaScript. If you liked the video, please hit that like button, subscribe for more content, and check out my website at goodeveningtech.com. Take care and always try your best.